Let's take a look at how to disassemble a cam follower on a Rover K series engine. Of course this will go for many other engines as well. So now you can see the small piston in the cam follower, and that's the one we want to take out. It's secured with a retention ring expanding in the equivalent cylinder it is gliding into, and that's the tension we'll have to overcome. You can also see the small hole for pressurized engine oil that, so to say, pumps up the hydraulic mechanism. So what we'll do is take the cam follower, place it between your fingers in this way, and we will, so to say, slam it onto a hard wood surface, and thereby, by means of the inertia in the small piston, make it pull out and overcome the spring tension in the retaining ring. We'll have a go. You can perhaps see it has pulled out a small bit. We'll give it another wham. There you go. Now it's pulled out. So there's very good reasons for disassembling this cam follower, because it's quite full of muck and water in the oil. So what we'll have to do is clean this out, and for that purpose I can recommend using brake cleaner, because there's some pressure behind it and you can blow out all the muck and swirl it around a bit, and then pour it out and quickly blow it clean with some compressed air. That was the cam follower itself, and you can see now it's quite nice. Perhaps you should wipe it off with a piece of paper as well. Yeah, there is another piston in the piston that actually touches the stem end of the valve, and then we'll have to pull out the small piston. Okay, so this was one of the very hard ones. Actually the small piston was corroded a bit into the larger piston, and that was due to some water contamination in the oil, it was obvious. So the engine, and therefore the cam follower, must have been subject to head gasket failure, I think, and water coming into the oil and thereby into the cam follower mechanism. I succeeded taking out the small piston, and it was quite hard. Now, as you saw, the small piston was stuck in the bigger piston, and was very hard to pull out. And the only reason I got it out was because I used this expanding roll plug. It's a brass plug which is sliced up and has M5 threads into it, and you turn an M5 bolt into it, and it expands and grips the small piston, and thereby holding it. And then by heating up the bigger piston with a paint stripping heat gun, I finally succeeded in disassembling the two pistons. And what appeared was that there's a small amount of corrosion on the surface of a small piston, and in the equivalent cylinder in the larger piston. And what I did was take some grit 1200 paper and I polished the surface until it was obvious that the surface rust had disappeared, and you can see now it's quite metallic clean. And in the same way I took a small piece of steel rod and I polished the inside of the other piston until I was satisfied that the surfaces were rust free. You might think that the tolerances has gone out of the window, but then you can just test it. Of course you have to clean it very well. The bigger and the smaller piston. No grit must be present. And then you can test the fit of a smaller piston into the larger piston, and you can feel that it slides in very nicely, and you can feel that you actually compress the air inside, and it has difficulty of escaping the air, that is. And that will tell you that the tolerances are quite alright. So now you have cleaned the cam follower and you can assemble it. I would recommend that you, besides cleaning it very carefully, then you drip a little bit of oil onto the return valve, so you are quite certain that it will seal when the cam follower is pumped up at engine startup. And then it's essential that you turn the pistons in the right way. And the spring has to go on till the valve end of the small piston, and it has to go into the bigger piston that way. And then you can see that the oil is entering the cam follower through this hole, and you can see also that the channel will lead the oil into the center of the cam follower, and that's where this combination of pistons go. And then it will have to go past this non-return valve, so it will of course have to go the way in so that the oil can go through the non-return valve and into the follower, and then pump up the smaller piston in the bigger piston in a way that the valve clearance is correctly installed. So now perhaps we should give it a little bit of oil here as well, just to be sure, and then it will slide into the cam follower this way, and then you will have to overcome the retaining ring. Perhaps you could have a little bit of help with a soft hammer like that, but then you should make sure that you can, by finger pressure, slide the bigger piston up and down in the cylinder of the cam follower. And there you go. You have a freshly and well functioning hydraulic cam follower, which isn't stuck. Congratulations.